Okay, thanks. Okay, hi.
Hi.
How are we doing?
Good.
Good. How did everyone like the earthquakes?
Oh, interesting.
Uh-huh.
I was in Whole Foods. I didn't feel the first one. I was in Whole Foods on Friday night. It's like sliding, a lot of sliding.
Mm-hmm.
Big numbers, 6.9, 7.1 or something.
Yeah. And you know how that Richter scale works. From every number, like when you go from 6 to 7, that's a power of 10.
Mm-hmm.
So 7 is 10 times as powerful as a 6, and an 8 is 100 times as powerful as a 6.
Wow.
So, yeah, so the one on Friday was something like 8 or 9 times as powerful as the one on Thursday. As it happened, when the one on Thursday hit, I was standing right over there in the kitchen, leaning. I was filling up the tea kettle from the water, the filtered water spigot there, with my abdomen kind of against the edge of the counter, the way you do, and I felt things starting to go, and I thought, oh my God, I'm having balance issues. I'm officially old. And I started walking around, oh my God, it's like being on a boat, oh my God. And really, like, it was so interesting, as you say, it's interesting. In like the 20 seconds, I had this whole different life path unfolding in front of me. I can't travel anymore. I'm not going to want to get on planes. I've got all this inner ear spilkus going on, right? And then I go, oh, wait a minute. Maybe it's just an earthquake. Okay. Too bad for everyone else in the earthquake, but I'm okay. The next day, when the second one hit, 9 times stronger, guess what I was doing? Leaning over the sink, filling up the tea kettle. It was so weird.
Is that correlation or causation?
Well, I did have the thought. I got to stop filling this kettle. But I went through the whole thing again. This time not as long. And this time I looked around and I noticed that chain right there that for the pulling the curtain up and down. The chain is swinging. Okay, now we know.
We were more ready for the second one.
More ready?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The first time, I thought I was going to faint. Oh my gosh, my stomach and my head. The second time, okay, it's an earthquake,
Mm-hmm.
and it was more violent. You could really hear it. Things started shaking a bit.
Uh-huh. What? How did you find yourself dealing with it in terms of dealing? Yeah.
Dean, I was in the big one in San Francisco in '89.
Uh-huh.
That was huge.
Uh-huh.
And after that one, like, these are nothing, but you still get that initial, oh my God. And I just hope that it's not the big one.
Right.
And dealing with it, you're just sitting there and you're thinking, I need to do something, but I don't know what at this exact moment, but I'm just so grateful when it passes over. Because like I said, the big one in San Francisco, I was running down the stairwell of my job where I work, and literally it was like being on an amusement ride. You just got thrown to the other side of the wall, and someone from my church died. Where I lived, there were all fires. The sidewalks were buckled this high. And and I said, where I live, a lot of restaurants came, and there was a school across the street. And so all these 5-star restaurants in San Francisco were feeding us because we were, our places were condemned.
Right.
And I said, I'm the only person that managed to gain weight during a national disaster.
Right.
The food was so fabulous.
I was actually in a pretty strong one in San Francisco in about 1967 or 68. I don't know how strong it was, but I was on the top floor, 3rd floor of one of those old, wood frame Victorians, and it was in the middle of the day. But my girlfriend and I were making love at the time because we were, 18, 19 years old, and it was the middle of the day. And I swear to God, she looked up, she said, "Are you doing that?"
And you said, yes,
True story, I swear. But earthquake. Did anyone find there's something kind of exciting about it? Yeah.
Well, but I was in a public place, and so I was like connecting with the people around me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that needed, and because it had happened on Thursday and I didn't feel it. Yeah, I mean it's
Yeah.
changed. Things shift. Things were shifting.
Things change. Things shift. Does that sound familiar? Things change. Things shift. Right? This is what all the Dharma teachings tell us. Everything changes. Everything shifts. And we hear that, and without necessarily thinking it through, kind of implicitly, we think, oh yeah, things in our lives like career changes and your body changes, but you know, this is all within on the theater of the solid earth. Well, guess what? There ain't no solid earth. Everything changes. Everything shifts. You know, in the Buddhist teaching, there's said to be the three, I forget what they're called, they're like the three hallmarks of existence, like the three basic facts of life that you see everywhere in life, which are dukkha, which you know is usually translated as suffering. I think in this case, in this context, we can for the moment translate dukkha as like shit happens. Okay, it's always something, right? Dukkha, anitya, and anatta, right? So dukkha, suffering. Interestingly, Thich Nhat Hanh flips it around. He says the three hallmarks are nirvana, anitya, and anatta. So he says instead of suffering, just flip it around. Yeah, but there's always enlightenment. So we could go with that. But anitya means impermanence. As you say, everything changes, everything shifts. Nothing is permanent. And anatta means non-self. Nothing is a permanent, defined, finite self. You know, in other words, all the stuff that's shifting around, there's no self to it. It's all the stuff. It's all the phenomena. It's all stuff shifting around within the awareness, within the beingness, we could say. So when something when something shifts that's bigger than the stuff that usually is, or that we don't expect to, in a way it's thrilling. I mean, easy for me to say, you know, I wasn't hurt, no one I know was hurt. But, you know, it reveals if you let it. And of course, this is true not only of literally earthquakes, but it can use this metaphorically. Any kind of earthquake in our life. You know, when illness comes for ourselves or for a family member. You know, I mean, you know about this. And it's an earthquake. You wouldn't ask for it. You wouldn't want it. You wouldn't say, "Hey, this is great." But it has a funny way of revealing that everything shifts. Nothing's permanent. That's the most obvious thing. Everyone sees that, and mostly they get freaked out by it. But you know, those of us who are on this Dharma path, remember the other two things. Take a look. Anatta, there's no self to any of, there's no finite separate selves to any of the stuff that's getting knocked around or any of the people that's getting knocked around. It's all part of this beingness, it's the same beingness. And then the third part, take your choice. Take the traditional, and there's dukkha, there's always suffering, it's always going to happen. That's true, but also flip it around. There's always enlightenment available there. In every moment, in every part of the shift. So, little earthquake enlightenment for us.
That was wonderful. That was.
Yeah.
Really wonderful.
Yeah.
What you just said.
Okay. So, last time, 2 weeks ago, most of you were here, and we were doing some pretty deep breath work as our way in, our on-ramp into the meditation. Did any of you practicing that at home and maybe have any questions about it?
No, but I did practice it though, and I liked it.
Mhm.
I'm not like a real big breather. I never have been.
Right.
But that little exercise is just enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
So
Cool.
I'm
Cool. Yeah. Good. Any other?
I breathe
Feedback?
all the time.
You
On
do,
a daily
yeah.
basis.
Yeah.
So that is one part
Right.
of my practice.
Right.
Um,
And right here with the two of you, this is such a good example of different strokes for different folks. Some people, really serious breath work. It becomes a long-term part of your practice. Just some people I know can't imagine sitting and meditating without. And for some people, a little of it goes a long way.
Well, there was a change in my yoga practice. I kept the deep, the Darth Vader thing
Mhm.
all throughout for the whole hour of the yoga,
Mm.
almost. And
Mhm.
I find that it really, I can deepen the postures, the asanas,
Mm-hmm.
with that breath.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care if people turn around and look at me.
Yeah, right.
I find, that's a shift that happened after the practice here, because
Mm-hmm.
I had never done
Mm.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
with
The
fullness.
ujjayi breath,
The
yeah.
ujjayi.
Mm-hmm.
But with the sound,
Right.
I always did it silently or privately.
Right.
And after we did it here, I just went to the class and
Mhm.
I just went.
Hey, they're in a yoga class. If they,
but
I think they should be able to handle
but
hearing some
no, but they
ujjayi
don't
breath.
do it. They
Uh-huh.
say, or breathe in, breathe out, but
Right.
it's like,
Uh-huh.
like just like an
Yeah.
exercise. And it's
Yeah.
so different to go with your consciousness
Yeah.
into the breath and then
Yeah.
up. And I've been doing this, but especially with the concentration in this area,
Mhm.
the palate,
Right.
which for me is very important. And
Right.
then down, and then that really deepened the practice.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that I emphasized last time, which is a little bit new for me, I kind of got it from this Kira, the wonderful gyrotonic trainer I've been working with, is on the exhale of really working the abdominals, really pulling them in, so you feel that old six pack there, and just pulling all the way back against your back body, just squeezing out the very end of each breath. And among other things, it's really good for toning your abs, which turns out to be really good for your posture and all of this. But just really squeezing out the last of it's very powerful. So let's do something completely different tonight. In Tibetan Buddhist practice, they do a lot with mantra, with psychoacoustically optimized sound. And many of the mantras start with, or you can just use by itself, the three seed syllables, the three bija mantras, seed syllables of the Vajrayana, the Tibetan Buddhism, which are Om, Ah, Om. Okay, so you'll see this written using our alphabet, written imprecisely as Om, O-M, Ah, A-H, and then Hung, you'll see it as, sometimes you'll see it as H-O-O-N-G, or H-U-N-G with a line over the U, or H-U-M with a dot over the M. So, the first syllable, Om, we're all familiar with. However,
Oh.
yeah, you'll hear people do that, especially in the traditions coming through yoga classes and things. The Tibetan tradition, they don't emphasize that so much. They go straight to Om. But you don't go, yeah, so let me leave it at that. Om, okay? Ah, there's no way to mess that up. It's completely open, the vocal apparatus wide open. Ah, and then Hum. So it's Hum, H, then a long U sound, Oo. And then the it's the nasalization, like in French word for good, bon, right? Bon. You see it written, it's not bone, it's not baume, it's not bong, it's bon. Bon. Can you do that? Bon, 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 bon. Okay, now take the B off. Om, om. Now change that to ooh, ooh, and then put an H in front of it. Om. And you can just use these without thinking much about them, and you'll find, if you play around with them, I think you'll find they're very powerful. If you want a little bit of the dimension of insight into how these are thought of, and this is what I'm going to say next necessarily will be very approximate. I mean, this is talking about this stuff is like, it's like cutting diamonds with a sledgehammer, you know. Om is like, that's the infinite. That's infinite existence. It's the sea of beingness. It's the whole kit and caboodle. It's it, the infinite. Right, and there is in that sound Om, there is a feeling of completeness. Everything is there. Oh, if we break it down, as you say, Om, it's a complete, right. The sound of openness. So that's the sound of open awareness. Open awareness. So in a sense, we could say, okay, first here's the infinite, Om. Then here's that's us opening to the infinite. Now, when you put those together, when we have the infinite, Om, we open to it, what we get is Hum. Hum is kind of like Om plus yields Hum. So Hum is enlightenment. Right? Here's the infinite, Om. We open to it, And then what we get is Hum. Infinity. Enlightenment. Awakening. This Lama that Maggie, my first wife, and I used to study with back in the early 90s, did wonderful calligraphies of these Tibetan mantras. And we did a weekend retreat at our house. We hosted it at our house, and as a little token of gratitude, he gave us this beautiful calligraphy of a Hum that he did, which we had it framed and it hung over our mantle for years. This thing just radiating enlightenment. So let's do some of this together. See how to do this. Okay, let's start with a deep breath, and then just do Om on that breath till we're at the end and we're of the breath and we're sucking in our abs. Okay, so deep breath. when you run out of breath, don't take a second breath. Otherwise, we'll be here all night on one syllable. Everybody okay? Any questions?
Man, that's impressive.
I was gonna say, how long
That is
how much do
impressive,
you
how long
practice?
you do that for.
Oh, yeah, I'm out of shape right now, actually.
You
Yeah.
are?
Yeah. No, a lot of this was from working with that Lama back then. I mean, you should hear him. I've got recordings of him. You can't believe his breath.
Oh my.
So let's do a few more rounds of these, and then I'll hit the bell after Rahun, and we'll just go right into our meditation. We're good? Don't, if you're getting lightheaded or something, lighten up. Back off. Otherwise, go for it. And the key is being in each moment of each syllable. Be where you are. That's all. There's only ever that moment of that syllable. Oh. Just resting in this awareness that's already present. Resting in this presence that's already present, always already present. Just resting in this awareness as it presents itself. Nothing to do about it. Nothing to add to it or take away from it. Resting in this awareness, which is the only awareness there is. Always now. And it's always too late to change now. We're always one moment too late to change the present moment. Thank God. We're off the hook. Nothing to do but surrender. when you feel that, oh, I went away into memory or fantasy, speculation, rehashing a TV episode, whatever. So we could say, well, just come back. But it's more accurate to say, just realize you've been here all along. Those are just thoughts. They've been all happening right here within this present awareness. So there's nothing to do but rest as awareness. Surrender into this present awareness. Let anything you're holding on to melt into this present awareness. And all of it melts in its own time. It's all impermanent. All we have to do is not hang on to anything, not resist anything. When you find yourself resisting or hanging on, just relax your grip. Relax back into yourself once again. Into this open, empty, space-like awareness. So, leaving the eyes closed, take a few minutes to bring the body back to a more active state. And after a couple of minutes, when you feel ready, slowly open